They say wealth begins long before the first dollar is earned. It begins in the quiet corners of the mind. Every fortune ever built started not with money, but with a way of thinking. So, the real question is not, how do I make $1 million? But rather, how do I think like one who can? Good evening, friends. This is your reminder that the most valuable real estate you'll ever own lies between your ears. Every great achievement, every invention, every fortune began first as a simple thought, nurtured, disciplined, and acted upon. The difference between a man who struggles and a man who prospers is not chance, not luck, but mindset. A millionaire mindset is not about the pursuit of money. It's about the pursuit of growth. It's about understanding that wealth is a reflection, not a possession. It reflects the value you bring to the world, the problems you solve, and the discipline you build. You see, the average person wakes each morning thinking about survival. The man with a millionaire mind wakes thinking about creation. He asks, how can I make life better? For myself, for others, for the world? And in that question lies the seed of all prosperity. Here's a truth worth remembering. Me become what we think about most of the time. It was true a century ago. It's true today. And it will remain true as long as the human mind can dream. If you think thoughts of limitation, your actions will shrink to fit them. But if you fill your mind with vision, purpose, and faith in your ability, the world will quietly open doors where only walls once stood. Now, how does one develop this way of thinking? First, guard your mind as you would a treasure chest. Refuse to entertain negativity, envy, or fear. These are thieves that steal more dreams than failure ever could. Second, write down your goals clearly and read them every morning. The act of seeing your vision in words imprints it upon your subconscious. The mind, like a compass, begins to turn toward that direction. Third, cultivate the habit of persistence. Most people give up just before the tide turns in their favor. Stay the course long enough to deserve the breakthrough. Fourth, surround yourself with excellence. You cannot think like a winner if you spend your days among complainers. Choose people who challenge your thinking and elevate your standards. And fifth, take action, no matter how small. The act of moving forward, even by inches, builds confidence, and confidence builds destiny. Wealth is not measured by what you have, but by what you become on your way to earning it. A man who builds a fortune without first building his mind will lose it, but a man who builds his mind will always find a way to rebuild his fortune. The difference between mediocrity and magnificence lies not in the opportunities we are given, but in the thoughts we choose to hold. You can change your entire life by changing your thinking, one disciplined thought at a time. Every thought you think lays a brick in the foundation of your future. What you build with those thoughts becomes the structure of your destiny. Every idea, every belief, every inner conversation shapes the direction of your life more powerfully than any circumstance ever could. Thoughts are seeds, and like all seeds, they produce after their kind. A person who plants thoughts of abundance reaps opportunities, growth, and success, while one who sows limitation harvests frustration, fear, and regret. The truth is simple yet profound. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world, and the quality of your life will never rise above the quality of your thinking. When you think in terms of abundance, you train your mind to see possibilities where others see barriers. You begin to focus on what can be done instead of what can't. This shift in perspective changes how you respond to challenges. Instead of shrinking back, you adapt, innovate, and grow. The mind is the original workshop where all success is first built. If the blueprint within your mind is filled with images of growth, prosperity, and faith, your life will eventually match that design. But if that inner blueprint is crowded with self-doubt, scarcity, and fear, even the greatest opportunities will slip through your fingers because you won't recognize them when they appear. Abundance is not about having more money or material things. It is about realizing that you already have more potential, more creativity, and more power than you are currently using. The world responds to your energy, and that energy begins with thought. A person who walks through life expecting good things tends to notice the doors that others overlook. The mind acts like a magnet, drawing to it the circumstances that match its dominant thoughts. When you think abundance, you project confidence and optimism, and those qualities attract people, ideas, and opportunities that help you expand further. Limitation, on the other hand, begins in the same place, in thought. When you convince yourself that something is impossible, your mind stops looking for solutions. You unconsciously close the door to possibility. Every limitation you accept becomes a mental wall that confines your potential. People often blame luck, background, or resources, but the greatest obstacle is almost always invisible. It's the silent belief that says, I can't. To break free, you must replace that voice with a stronger one that says, I can learn, I can grow, I can improve. The difference between those who achieve greatness and those who remain stagnant lies in how they use their thoughts. The successful person chooses to think in terms of expansion, progress, and contribution. They understand that the mind, once focused on what's possible, begins to create ideas, connections, and momentum that align with that belief. What you dwell upon expands, and what you believe becomes your reality. The moment you begin to think abundantly, you begin to live abundantly. Success is never the result of luck, coincidence, or chance. It is the outcome of deliberate mental conditioning, the steady training of the mind to think, believe, and act in alignment with one's goals. Every individual who has achieved lasting success has first built it internally, long before it appeared externally. The mind is the command center of every decision, every response, every dream, and it must be trained to perform under purpose rather than impulse. Just as the body is strengthened through disciplined exercise, the mind becomes powerful through consistent mental practice. Thoughts become habits, habits form actions, and actions shape destiny. A person who conditions their mind for success does not merely wish for achievement. They prepare for it. They feed their thoughts with ideas that inspire growth and surround themselves with influences that reinforce belief. Each day becomes a classroom in self-mastery, and every challenge becomes a test of mindset. They learn to respond to adversity with clarity instead of emotion, persistence instead of doubt. Over time, this conditioning forms a mental toughness that no setback can easily break. It's not that these individuals never face failure. It's that they have trained their minds to interpret failure as feedback rather than defeat. Deliberate mental conditioning requires awareness. It begins with observing the thoughts that occupy your mind throughout the day. The average person allows fear, comparison, and worry to dominate their inner world, unaware that these thoughts quietly shape their behavior. The successful person interrupts this pattern and replaces it with intention. They choose empowering beliefs, practice gratitude, and visualize outcomes that inspire confidence. This is not fantasy, it is preparation. The subconscious mind responds to repeated thoughts as instructions, and over time, it begins to attract and create experiences that match those instructions. When the mind is conditioned for success, focus sharpens. Distractions lose their power, and purpose becomes the compass guiding every action. This clarity allows individuals to make decisions faster, recover from mistakes quicker, and see opportunity in places where others see none. They no longer rely on motivation alone because their mental conditioning has built discipline, the ability to do what must be done even when the mood to do it is absent. Success, then, is not a sudden event, but a predictable result of daily mental training. Every person has the capacity to reprogram their thinking. It requires repetition, patience, and faith in the process. By consistently affirming your vision, surrounding yourself with growth-minded people, and feeding your mind with knowledge that elevates you, you gradually shift your internal reality. Eventually, the external world begins to align with this new inner pattern. What once felt impossible starts to feel natural, because your mind has accepted success as your standard rather than your exception. Success does not arrive by accident. It is earned through the conscious effort to think like a winner long before the results appear. The way you see yourself quietly determines how the world treats you. Life has a strange but consistent way of reflecting your self-image back to you through circumstances, relationships, and opportunities. If you believe you are capable, confident, and deserving, the world tends to respond with respect, trust, and doors that open in your favor. But if you see yourself as inadequate, unlucky, or powerless, the same world seems to confirm those beliefs at every turn. The mirror of life never lies, it faithfully reflects the picture you carry within. Self-image is the foundation of behavior. You cannot consistently act in a manner that contradicts the way you see yourself. A person who believes they are destined for success will find ways to rise, even when the odds are against them. Their belief becomes fuel that powers persistence. On the other hand, a person who secretly doubts their worth will unconsciously sabotage opportunities because they don't truly see themselves as capable of having more. They will interpret rejection as proof of inferiority instead of as a temporary setback. The outer results always trace back to the inner picture. The image you hold of yourself is built from years of experiences, words, and memories. Many people live under the weight of old labels, things they were told as children, failures that were never forgotten, comparisons that eroded their confidence. These unexamined beliefs become silent architects of their reality. To change your life, you must first update this inner picture. It requires becoming aware of the stories you tell yourself about who you are and what you can do. Once you change those stories, the world begins to reflect a different version of you. This is why people who develop self-respect tend to attract respect from others. Those who carry confidence draw trust and admiration. Those who act with kindness often experience more kindness in return. The world, like a mirror, responds to your emotional posture. When you approach life with strength, openness, and certainty, others sense it instinctively. You no longer beg for validation because you've already given it to yourself. That self-assurance changes the way you speak, the way you stand, and even the energy you bring into a room, and the world adjusts its response accordingly. The secret lies in internal alignment. You cannot expect abundance while carrying the image of scarcity. You cannot expect love while believing you are unworthy. Every desire you hold must first find a home within your own self-image. The person who wants success must begin to think, act, and feel like someone who already possesses it. The mind does not wait for proof, it creates it. Once you accept a new identity, confident, capable, deserving, your thoughts, choices, and environment begin to shift to match it. Life mirrors the confidence, not the doubt. It reflects belief, not hesitation. The outer world becomes the echo of the image you have the courage to hold within. A millionaire mind operates on a completely different frequency from the one that constantly chases money. It understands that wealth is not something to pursue frantically, but something to attract naturally through value, vision, and disciplined thinking. The person with a millionaire mindset knows that money is a result, not a goal. It flows toward those who solve problems, create impact, and master their craft with consistency. While many run after money hoping it will change their circumstances, the millionaire mind focuses on becoming the kind of person to whom money naturally gravitates. It builds the inner qualities that make success inevitable. When someone is chasing money, their focus is on lack. They think in terms of scarcity, always reaching, always needing, always reacting. This energy repels true abundance because it stems from fear and impatience. But when you operate with a mindset of value, creativity, and contribution, you begin to attract opportunities that multiply your resources. The millionaire mind knows that chasing money is like chasing shadows. The harder you run after it, the faster it moves away. Instead, it works on the light source itself, the skills, mindset, and purpose that create money as a natural outcome. Attraction begins with clarity. Those with a millionaire mind are clear about what they want, why they want it, and how they intend to serve through it. They focus not on short-term gains but on long-term impact. Because their vision is strong, they naturally draw people, ideas, and opportunities that align with that vision. They build relationships based on value exchange, not desperation. They think in terms of abundance, believing that there is always more to create, more to learn, more to contribute. This faith keeps their energy magnetic and their mind alert to the right possibilities. The millionaire mind invests in growth. It values self-education, new experiences, and mastery over temporary gratification. It understands that opportunity rarely visits those who are unprepared. Therefore, it stays ready by constantly developing new skills and expanding perspective. When others complain about the lack of chances, the person with this mindset is already positioned to recognize and seize them. They understand that opportunity is not luck but preparation meeting the right moment. The more prepared you are, the luckier you seem to become. Chasing money often leads to burnout because it is rooted in external validation. Attraction, however, is internal alignment. It is the natural outcome of confidence, integrity, and purpose. People are drawn to those who know where they are going. Opportunities are drawn to those who can handle them wisely. The millionaire mind radiates that quiet confidence, not arrogance, but assurance. It doesn't demand, it attracts through consistent value and authentic presence. Money follows purpose, and opportunity follows preparation. When you stop running after wealth and start cultivating wisdom, discipline, and service, you begin to notice that success no longer hides from you. It moves toward you effortlessly, drawn by the power of your mindset. Self-discipline is the silent architect behind every enduring form of wealth. It is the force that transforms good intentions into tangible results, the bridge between dreams and achievement. Without discipline, talent remains untapped, goals remain written on paper, and potential fades into regret. Throughout history, every person who built something lasting, whether in business, art, or personal life, relied on discipline as the foundation of their success. It is wealth's oldest partner because it ensures that effort is consistent, habits are strengthened, and focus is maintained when distractions call for attention. True self-discipline is not about harsh restriction but about intelligent control. It is the ability to choose long-term rewards over short-term pleasure. It's waking up early when comfort tempts you to sleep in, saving money when impulse urges you to spend, studying when distraction invites you elsewhere. Wealth in any form responds to order, structure, and responsibility. The disciplined mind knows that success cannot be rushed, yet it also understands that time wasted can never be recovered. Every act of discipline, no matter how small, compounds into stability, growth, and freedom. Discipline turns consistency into a habit and patience into power. It teaches you that small daily actions hold more value than grand but rare efforts. The person who exercises discipline gains control over the one thing that governs all success, their own behavior. Without it, emotions rule and progress becomes erratic. But with it, even ordinary actions repeated with purpose produce extraordinary outcomes. The wealth that endures is not built through bursts of luck but through the quiet, relentless persistence of disciplined choices. The reason discipline and wealth are inseparable is because wealth demands stewardship. To earn it, you must be focused. To keep it, you must be wise. To grow it, you must be consistent. Each of these qualities is sustained by self-discipline. It teaches restraint when others act recklessly, patience when others panic, and commitment when others quit. It is not glamorous, but it is powerful. The disciplined person may move slower at first, but they move steadily, and eventually, they surpass those who relied only on emotion or enthusiasm. Discipline is also a form of respect for time, effort, and potential. It says to the universe, I am ready to be trusted with more. When you keep your word to yourself, when you do what you said you would even when no one is watching, you prove yourself capable of handling greater responsibility. That is the secret rhythm of success. Self-discipline attracts opportunities because it builds reliability. The world naturally rewards those who can be counted on to deliver. Over time, disciplined actions accumulate like bricks, building a structure of security and abundance that no external force can easily shake. Wealth without discipline fades. Discipline without wealth eventually creates it. It is not merely a habit but a lifelong partnership between desire and duty, ensuring that vision becomes reality and effort becomes prosperity. Time is the only resource that cannot be earned back once it's spent. Every second that passes is a silent transaction, a trade between what you could have done and what you actually chose to do. It is your greatest capital, greater than money, education, or connections, because it is the foundation upon which all other achievements are built. The difference between those who live with purpose and those who drift through life lies in how they use their time. The successful person treats every hour as an investment, something that must yield a return, whether in knowledge, experience, relationships, or progress. The ordinary person, however, treats time like currency meant to be spent without thought, unaware that every casual minute compounds into a lifetime of missed potential. To spend time like an investor means to view each day as a portfolio. You decide where to allocate your attention, energy, and focus. You look for activities that bring long-term growth instead of instant gratification. Just as a wise investor studies markets and calculates risks, a wise person studies their habits and directs their hours toward what truly matters. This requires clarity, knowing what your goals are, what contributes to them, and what merely distracts you. Without that clarity, time leaks away through endless scrolling, gossip, procrastination, and half-hearted effort. But when you begin to see time as your most precious asset, you start protecting it with intention. Investors understand the power of compounding, and the same law applies to time. One focused hour a day on a meaningful skill adds up to mastery. One consistent act of discipline each morning builds a foundation for excellence. Each conversation with a mentor, each page of a book, each deliberate moment of reflection multiplies in value over time. Meanwhile, those who consume time without awareness, living reactively, chasing distraction, or waiting for the right moment, find that their most valuable capital slips quietly away. Time cannot be borrowed or extended, only managed and honored. To treat time like an investor also means understanding opportunity cost. Every moment spent on something unimportant is a moment not invested in something that could have shaped your future. Successful people are not those who do the most, but those who spend their hours where it counts most. They learn to say no to what doesn't serve their purpose, not out of arrogance but out of respect for their time. They understand that each hour carries a price, and the wiser you become, the higher your time is worth. The consumer of time chases pleasure and convenience, while the investor of time chases purpose and progress. The consumer asks, what feels good right now? The investor asks, what will this create in the future? Every day offers both choices, to consume or to invest. The path you choose determines not only your results but also your legacy. Time rewards the disciplined, the intentional and the aware, and punishes the careless, the distracted and the idle. When you treat time as capital, it begins to multiply in the form of success, wisdom, and fulfillment. Confidence is the invisible force that gives life to every great idea, every bold decision, and every lasting achievement. It is the foundation upon which all enterprise is built because without it, even the best plans remain unexecuted. Confidence is not arrogance or overestimation, it is the quiet belief in one's ability to act, learn, and adapt. It is the trust that, whatever the challenge may be, you have within you the capacity to rise to meet it. Every great leader, inventor, or entrepreneur began with an idea that others doubted, but their confidence transformed vision into reality. Without that inner assurance, even the strongest skills remain dormant, waiting for permission that never comes. Confidence creates momentum. It moves thought into action, turns hesitation into progress, and transforms fear into focus. It is what allows people to take the first step when the outcome is uncertain. When you believe in your ability to handle what lies ahead, you stop waiting for perfect conditions and begin building them yourself. Confidence doesn't eliminate doubt, it simply refuses to be controlled by it. It gives you the courage to act despite uncertainty, knowing that failure is not the end but a part of the process. Every enterprise requires that leap, the willingness to move before you are completely ready, fueled by the belief that you will figure it out along the way. This foundation of confidence also inspires trust in others. People follow those who believe in themselves. Investors, clients, and teams are drawn to those who radiate certainty and composure under pressure. Confidence communicates reliability, competence, and vision. When you are sure of yourself, others are more willing to believe in your ideas. It becomes the magnetic quality that opens doors, attracts collaboration, and sustains leadership. The opposite is equally true. Uncertainty and self-doubt repel opportunity because they signal instability. The world rarely believes in those who do not first believe in themselves. Confidence is not something you are born with, it is something you build through action. Each time you follow through on a commitment, keep a promise to yourself, or face discomfort, your confidence grows. It strengthens through repetition, much like a muscle. Those who appear naturally confident have simply practiced courage more often. They have faced enough setbacks to learn that failure does not define them, and that every experience carries a lesson that adds to their strength. This is why confidence and competence are deeply connected. The more you do, the more you learn, the more you learn, the more confident you become. Every enterprise, whether a business, a dream, or a personal transformation, stands or falls on the strength of confidence. It is the stabilizing force when challenges arise and the motivating force when progress slows. It gives shape to ambition and endurance to effort. Without it, ideas remain fragile. With it, even the impossible begins to look achievable. Confidence is the unseen structure holding every vision together, turning uncertainty into creation and potential into achievement. The habit of learning is the true compound interest of the mind because every bit of knowledge you gain builds upon the last, multiplying in value over time. Just as money grows through consistent investment, the mind expands and strengthens through continuous learning. Each lesson learned, each idea explored, and each perspective gained becomes intellectual capital that pays dividends for the rest of your life. The difference between a stagnant mind and a powerful one lies in the consistency of growth. Those who make learning a habit never remain the same. They evolve, adapt, and find opportunity where others see limitation. Learning compounds because knowledge connects. What you learn in one area often enhances understanding in another. A lesson from failure might sharpen your decision-making. A new skill might unlock creativity in unexpected ways. Over time, these accumulated insights form patterns of wisdom that guide your actions with greater precision. The person committed to learning gains not only information but also discernment, the ability to see beyond the obvious and make sense of complexity. The more you learn, the faster you learn, because the mind becomes more efficient at absorbing and applying new ideas. This habit also fuels confidence and independence. When you dedicate yourself to lifelong learning, you begin to trust your ability to handle change. You become adaptable in a world that constantly shifts. Those who stop learning quickly find themselves outdated, not because they lack potential, but because they stopped feeding their minds. The learner, on the other hand, remains young in spirit and sharp in thought, always expanding their awareness and skill set. In a sense, learning is the ultimate insurance against fear, because the more you know, the less powerless you feel. True learning is not confined to classrooms or books. It happens in reflection, observation, and experience. Every interaction, every mistake, and every success holds a lesson if you are attentive enough to see it. The habit of learning means approaching life with curiosity rather than judgment. It means asking questions, seeking feedback, and being humble enough to admit that there is always more to understand. This mindset transforms every day into a classroom and every challenge into a teacher. Just as compound interest rewards patience, the benefits of learning reveal themselves over time. The knowledge you gain today may seem small, but years later it becomes the insight that changes everything. Learning creates mental wealth, a storehouse of ideas, perspectives, and abilities that no one can take away. It is the one investment that never depreciates and never stops paying returns. Those who cultivate this habit eventually rise in every field because they think more deeply, act more wisely, and adapt more quickly than those who do not. The habit of learning, practiced daily, turns an ordinary mind into an extraordinary one and transforms time itself into a force that works in your favor rather than against you. Wealth has always flowed toward those who embrace problems instead of running from them. Every product, invention, or thriving business in history began as a solution to a challenge someone was willing to face. The ability to see problems not as obstacles but as opportunities is what separates the successful from the struggling. Most people spend their energy avoiding discomfort, hoping for an easier path, while the few who rise to the top understand that growth hides inside difficulty. They train their minds to lean into challenges because they know that every solved problem creates value, and value is the currency that wealth recognizes and rewards. The world does not pay for complaints, it pays for solutions. Every job, service, and innovation exists because someone had the courage to solve something that others couldn't or wouldn't. The more complex the problem, the greater the potential for reward. Wealth naturally gravitates toward those who bring clarity to confusion and relief to frustration. When you position yourself as a solver rather than an avoider, you become indispensable. Instead of fearing problems, you begin to seek them out, knowing they are invitations to think creatively, to improve systems, and to elevate your worth. Problem solvers develop a mindset of resourcefulness. They focus on what can be done rather than what cannot. While others freeze under pressure, they stay curious, asking, "How can this be fixed? What can I learn from this?" This mental approach transforms setbacks into opportunities for innovation. Every challenge becomes a workshop for growth. Over time, this way of thinking builds resilience and confidence, two traits that attract greater opportunities. The more problems you solve, the more capable you become, and the more capable you become, the more the world trusts you with responsibility and reward. Avoiding problems, on the other hand, is the surest way to stay stuck. Those who run from difficulty often find themselves trapped in mediocrity because they never develop the skills or mindset required to rise above it. Avoidance creates weakness, while engagement builds strength. The person who consistently tackles challenges head-on becomes skilled, adaptable, and valuable, qualities that are always in demand. Wealth doesn't favor comfort, it favors contribution. The more you contribute to making life easier, faster, or better for others, the more wealth flows back to you as a reflection of that impact. At its core, wealth is a measure of service. The most successful people are those who identify pain points and provide relief. They listen, observe, and act when others hesitate. They understand that every frustration in the world is a potential opportunity disguised as a problem. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" they ask, "What can I do with this?" That simple shift in thinking transforms life from reactive to proactive. It turns struggle into strategy. When you dedicate yourself to solving problems, you stop chasing money because money begins to chase you. Wealth is drawn to the hands and minds that make life better for others. The greatest secret of growth and success lies not in wishing for more, but in becoming more. Many people spend their lives hoping for better circumstances, greater opportunities, or a stroke of luck that will change everything, yet they overlook the truth that external change always begins with internal transformation. The world does not give you what you want, it gives you what you are prepared for. To receive more, you must expand your capacity to handle more. Wishing alone creates nothing, but self-improvement changes everything. The individual who focuses on becoming more skilled, more disciplined, and more valuable naturally attracts the success that others chase in vain. Becoming more begins with awareness. It requires recognizing that your current results are a reflection of your current level of thinking, habits, and effort. To elevate your life, you must elevate these factors. You cannot expect to earn more while thinking small or to lead others while lacking self-leadership. Every level of life demands a new version of you, a wiser, more focused, and more resilient one. When you stop asking for life to be easier and start asking to be stronger, your entire reality begins to shift. The challenges that once defeated you become stepping stones for your advancement because you've grown beyond them. Wishing is passive, becoming is active. Wishing depends on chance, becoming depends on choice. The person who wishes waits for the right time, the right people, the right opportunity, but the one who chooses to become more creates those conditions through preparation and persistence. You cannot control luck, but you can control readiness. When opportunity arrives, it only benefits those who have already done the work to deserve it. That is why personal growth is the most practical form of ambition. It ensures that no matter the circumstance, you remain equipped to create progress. Every day offers a chance to become more, to learn a new skill, refine a habit, strengthen discipline, or expand understanding. These small daily improvements compound over time into extraordinary transformation. Most people underestimate what consistent growth can do because it happens quietly. Yet, the person who invests in becoming better each day will soon stand unrecognizable to their past self. They don't need to wish for success because they have become the kind of person who attracts it. Life begins to mirror their development, rewarding them not for what they want, but for what they've become capable of sustaining. Becoming more also means taking full responsibility for your life. It means understanding that no one else can grow for you or give you lasting success. The greatest power you possess is your ability to change yourself. Your thoughts, your attitude, your habits. When you raise your standards, you automatically raise the quality of your life. Every breakthrough, every advancement, every success story begins with someone who decided to stop wishing for change and instead became the change. The secret to having more is always found in the process of becoming more.